So yeah, over to you, Nitin ji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you, Vijay ji, for a wonderful session. Balaka Dhavati. Balakaha Dhavanti. What is the plural of
Balakaha dhavanti.
Balakaha Dhavanti. Okay. Te Dhavanti.
Te dhavanti.
Te dhavanti, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Namo Namaha. Dhanyavadaha. Punah Milama.
Punah milama.
All right. Radhe Radhe. Good morning. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Hope you had a great weekend and great start to your week as well. Always good to be back on Mondays. So let's get started. Today we are going to introduce a very important concept. Okay, we know that, we intuitively know it, but today we will formally know it. And when you know it, you will realize how deep it is. Okay, and the hope is that we are able to have some kind of a witness consciousness around it, which is actually helpful for our spiritual journey. So let's get started. Very warm welcome. If you are new to the session, you can put it in chat and welcome to our session. We will get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru like we always do. So let me share my screen and we will get started. Are you able to see my screen? Not yet. Able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurudevo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right, Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening again to all of you. So let's get started. Today we have verse 6 from chapter 3 that we're going to talk about, which is going to introduce the concept that I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to recite it and then you're welcome to follow along. Karmendriyani sanyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyachara sauchyate. All right.
Radhe Radhe Samji.
Radhe Radhe. Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyardhan vimudhatma mithyachara sauchyate. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice, Samji.
Surya Prakash ji. Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Surya.
Radhe Radhe. Nitinji. Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyardhan vimudhatma midhyacharah sa uchyate.
Very nice. Thank you, Surya Prakash ji. We can take few more hands.
Rahul ji. Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Karmendriyani sayamya ya aste mansa smaranaha indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyacharah sauchyate.
Very nice, Rahul. Radhe Radhe. All right, we can take real quick 4 or 5 hands.
Radhe Radhe Shyamji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Shyamji.
Radhe Radhe. Karmendriyani sanyamya ya aste mansa smaran indriyarthani vimudhatma mithyachara sauchyate. Radhe Radhe.
Full. Very nice, Shyamji. Radhe Radhe.
Yes. Riya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Riya ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Riya ji.
Yes, please go ahead.
कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचार स उच्यते. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe, very nice, Riyaji.
Sumesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
राधे राधे नितिन जी, राधे राधे। कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारः स उच्यते. राधे राधे.
Very nice, Sumesh ji, Radhe Radhe. Okay, we'll freeze it to the last 5 hands now. Or last 6, I guess.
Yes. Radhe Radhe, Srinath ji, please go on.
Radhe Radhe, Srinath ji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji and everyone. Karmendriyani sanyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyacharah sa uchyate.
Wonderful, Srinath ji. Good to hear from you after a while.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. All right, let's get down to our last 5 hands.
Pragi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Pragi ji.
राधे राधे. कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचार स उच्यते.
Wonderful, very nice, Pragi ji. All right, the remaining hands.
Prasasti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Prashasti ji.
राधे राधे. कर्मेन्द्रिया संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थात् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचार्य स उच्यते.
Very nice, Prashasti. How old are you?
10.
10.
Wow.
Very nice. Where are you joining us from?
Balmukund.
Almukund. Okay, very nice. Welcome to the session. Very nice recitation. Loved it.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's pick the remaining 3 hands.
Parna ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
राधे राधे. कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारः स उच्यते.
Nice, Aparna ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay.
Sairam ji. Yeah, Sairam ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Sairam ji.
राधे राधे. कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमुक्तात्मा मिथ्याचारः स उच्यते.
Wonderful, Sairam ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, we're down to our last 2 then.
Manish ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Manish.
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji and everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Karmendriyani sanyamya yaste manasa smaran indriyarthan vidumudatma mityachara sayuchyate. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
You very nice, Manish ji. All right, last but not the least.
Yes, I'll go ahead. Karmendriyani संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारः स उच्यते.
Very nice, Sandhya. All right, so let's get started. In this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying that those who restrain the external organs of action while continuing to dwell on sense objects in the mind certainly delude themselves and are called to be hypocrites. I think we spoke about this topic, hypocrites, and we will continue on this today. And we will talk about, as you can see, there's a world which we see, and then there's another world that is residing within us. So we'll talk about that and what is the interplay of that world with the external world and how basically it determines the shape of our thoughts and what direction it sets for our spiritual journey. Okay, it's a very important concept to understand. It all just happens in an autopilot. Okay, and that's where through witness consciousness, we need to figure out what's going on here. So let's get started. So here's a guy, as you can see, he's very worked up today, bad day at office, in general, having a bad day in life, over a period of time, extremely frustrated with life, as you can see. Now, this guy has decided enough is enough, and I'm going to take a ride in the first available auto, as you can see, so that I can live happily ever after, because enough is enough, and this is what I want to become. Okay, so he's not happy with his life. He takes a long ride. Okay, probably does not even care to write a letter. He had already given a warning to people around him that, if you trouble me enough, I have my game plan sorted out in life. I'm going to become a yogi. So this is a pretty typical situation we all experience, and these kind of thoughts do flash in our mind. Enough is enough, right? Why to deal with this rigors of life, grinding of life, why not just get to the peace and practice our spirituality all in a Himalayan cave or somewhere deep in the mountains. I also had that temptation when I went to Canada, okay, but I resisted it. So it's very enticing, trust me. You really feel a great pull towards it. Now let's look at it in perspective. So this guy there's an attraction, like I said, right? From an ascetic life, there's an allurement there, because we have to deal with people, personalities, typically not very supportive, the ones who will play on our nerves, who will challenge us, who will stop us from doing our spirituality, and who will give us all kind of reasons to feel frustrated with this world. Okay. Now, because of that, if we renounce our work, right, and we move on like this guy did, then what's going to happen is only we are going to discover later on renunciation is when we start facing challenges in the path of renunciation also. Then you will take a U-turn there as well. There'll be a tendency to say, this is also very difficult. Okay, this is not something that I had signed up for. So the key here is to have that mental and intellectual withdrawal from sensual fields. That is critical. And if without having developed sufficient withdrawal or detachment, mental and intellectual, from sense objects, we prematurely renounce the world, then there cannot be nothing more counterproductive to your spiritual journey than this act itself. Lord Krishna is calling this kind of a person who artificially renounces things without having developed enough dispassion towards the world as a hypocrite. Okay. So when this thing is only done externally, internally, the sentiments and thoughts or the mind is still in the world, or you may like to believe it is not, but it is still there in the world, then that is not at all a good place to be in. It's better to be a Karam Yogi and face the struggles of life, do the duties that we are assigned based on whatever station of life we are in, or whatever responsibilities are tasked to us because of whatever situation we are in, as opposed to running away from problems of life and doing it prematurely. It's like that little kid Johnny, who signs up for a doctorate program without having completed his elementary education. Even if he spends the next 500 years in that program, nothing will make sense. On the contrary, it may disappoint that student, and he may lose faith, and may even take a U-turn from spirituality. Say there's nothing on this path as well other than the hardship. At least on the material side, I was getting some ras from Rasgulla, parents, and kids and relatives, and other situations that our mind creates are going to give us ras, right? So it's important to understand what is spirituality, that a dispassion, detachment is from the sense objects. Without developing that, if we prematurely look at taking sannyas or running away from our duties, it is called a hypocritical behavior. It will be very, very counterproductive. So Lord Krishna is actually beckoning action. Continue to perform your duties, to the best of your abilities. And as you continue to deepen your understanding of Karam Yoga and do that practice, then you will gain eligibility for a higher level of sannyas. Anyway, Varnashram Dharam dictates that. But within Varnashram Dharam also, if you have gone to the forest and you're thinking about your grandkids all the time and your kids all the time, then also it is pointless. So Lord Krishna is saying it's important to go through that and develop knowledge where you develop dispassion. Dispassion means that there is neither happiness nor misery in this world. Not that world is full of miseries and I need to run away from it. That is not the right way of approaching spirituality, is essentially what this shloka is talking about. Let's move further. So Kabir Jas ji has given a beautiful doha as well. Just by changing your clothes or growing your hair or beard long does not make you a yogi. Okay, so he says that you have donned the usher robes, but you have ignored dyeing your mind with the color of renunciation. It's not about changing the color of your clothes, but changing the color of your mind. That is what true renunciation is. So if Swamiji says that, right? People ask him, when he took sannyas, is it just like you go to a tailor, change your clothes and you become a sannyasi? No, it's a very cosmetic thing. Yes, he chooses to wear saffron, which is the color, like everybody has a dress. So saffron is the color for ascetics. But then more than coloring the clothes, it's the state of mind that matters. It's not just an external act or growing long beard or long hair that makes you a sannyasi, or cutting hair for that matter, right? Shave off your head and you become a sannyasi, not necessarily. It's an internal thing. It's a very important concept to understand. Now, whether you shave off your head or you keep long hair, the state of your mind determines whether you are a true renunciate or not. Yes, once you are a renunciate, you can choose to shave off your head or choose to keep your hair long. Doesn't matter at that point. Okay, that is how it goes. Now you have grown long locks of hair and smeared ash on your body. Some people, they start smearing ash on their body as well. But without internal devotion, the external beard you have sprouted only makes you resemble a goat. Okay, that's kind of a very humorous way of saying that you have actually imitated a goat and not a true renunciate when you do that. And Lord Krishna is reiterating the same. He's saying the people who externally renounce the objects of senses while continuing to dwell upon in the mind are hypocrites. They delude themselves. So it's not a cosmetic change. It's a change from within. That is what is needed. Okay. And it has to happen both in letter and spirit, where you change or transform from within. Doesn't matter what you are doing on the external at that point, because that's why it's even more difficult to understand saints, because they might be doing ulta pulta activities out there in the open, but internally they may be completely renounced, right? So saints, they do have a tendency to do that as well. So it's an internal state of mind that matters, not the external renunciation. So we should not fall for people just because they are looking like sadhus, not necessarily. And at the same time, somebody, a saint may not exhibit those. I mean, typically saints would, because their exterior also supports their interior. That is typically how it goes. But it's not a guaranteed thing where you simply focus on exterior, that a saint should look like that, talk like that, walk like that, speak like that, eat like that, wear like that, hair should look like that. No, these are all external parameters, have nothing to do with your internal renunciation. Okay, let's move on. So here's a story from our scriptures, Bhagavatam, of two brothers, Tavrit and Suvrit. You might have heard about this story. We'll reiterate this just so that this concept becomes clear. So these are the two brothers, okay, twin brothers, I guess. So they were walking from their house to hear the Shri Bhagavatam discourse at a temple. Okay, so while they were walking, it started raining heavily, as you can see. So when it started raining heavily, the nearest place they could find was a brothel. Okay, with great reluctancy and hesitancy, both of them, they took refuge in that brothel. Just imagine, they are going for a Bhagavatam discourse, and the situation God creates is such that they had to take a refuge at the brothel. Now what happens is, after a while, Tavrit said that, you know what, this rain is fine, but let's just go out and, reach temple. We'll brave the rain and reach the temple. Suvrit said, of course, I mean, it's raining very heavily. Let's not do that. Let's just stick around, wait for the rain to pass, and then we can go there. However, Tavrit, he continued on. He said, okay, I'm going to the temple, and I can't afford to miss that discourse that is going on in the temple. So I'm going to run to the temple now, whatever the rain may be. On the other hand, Suvrit, he was a little more circumspect about the rain. So he chose to stay back at the brothel itself. Okay, now let's see what happens. Now Tavrit reached, the Bhagavatam discourse was going on, the nectar of devotion was flowing in, and Suvrit was stuck in the brothel. Okay. Now Tavrit, he's thinking after a while, what? My brother must be having a great time at the brothel. And here I'm stuck listening to this discourse, but my brother must be having a great time. I wish I could have stayed back as well. Now, on the other hand, Suvrit, what is he thinking? He's thinking, I'm not made up of mud. If only I had accompanied my brother, I would not have been stuck here. I would have been devouring the nectar of Bhagavatam. So just look at both of them. They both had different places, right? One had the intent to go to the temple. Both had the intent to go to the temple to begin with. And then in between, one of them had a stronger intent, and he actually braved the rain and went to the temple. The other one, he could not take that rain and he chose to stay back at the brothel. But now what's happening? The one who reached the temple after braving the rain is thinking about the brothel. He's thinking that his brother is having a great time. And the one who got stuck at the brothel, who could not brave the rain, is now thinking about Bhagavatam, about the temple. That, my brother will be having such a great time only if I had the guts to accompany him. I'm not made up of mud, and all those thoughts are coming to his mind. He's feeling very bad, very guilty, and actually imagining himself to be at the Bhagavatam discourse. So then both of them, because they were having conflicting thoughts, now Tavrit said, okay, let me start walking towards the brothel. Okay, let's catch up on what my brother is doing. And Suvrit thought, okay, let me go out in the rain and reach the temple quickly, so that I can listen to whatever discourse is remaining. So both start walking towards each other. When they start walking towards each other, there's a big lightning that comes, and lightning doesn't fall onto people at the same time, but apparently it did. Okay, and because of which they were forced to reject their gross body. Okay, that means Mr. Yamaraj came and both of them died. And when both of them died, Suvrit and Tavrit, right? Tavrit, who was at the temple, he was asked, welcome to hell. Not Suvrit, who was at the brothel. So Tavrit complains, he said, I was at the temple, you guys have made some kind of a mistake. It should have been Suvrit, my brother, who was actually at the brothel, not me. So Yamaraj said, no, we have not made a mistake. Okay. The reason for that? Now Tavrit was actually doing exactly what Lord Krishna declares in this verse. He had externally renounced the object of his sense by going to the temple, but was dwelling upon them in the mind. On the other hand, Suvrit, although he was situated at a place where he could enjoy the object of senses, but his mind was in God or in temple. Okay, you understand now the physical aspect and the mental aspect of it. What do we get truly credit for? So between them, one of the guys was at a temple listening to Bhagavatam, thinking about the brothel. The other guy was at the brothel, looking at the brothel and thinking about Bhagavatam. And when the Yamaraj came, the guy who was at the temple was escorted to hell. And this is exactly the concept that needs to be understood. We are where our mind is. We are not where we physically are. Does not matter. So you don't have to do Char Dham or whatever in India they do said checklist. I've done this, I've done this. Doesn't matter. You do Char Dham, you do 4,000 Dham, will not help unless you have bathed your mind in those dhams. Maharaj Ji, he was a Jagat Gurutam. So this question was posed to him. by the scholars that people go for Ganga Snan. People go for Ganga Snan. So if they go for Ganga Snan, then the fishes which are living in that Ganga, they should all be God realized. They live in Ganga, they bathe Ganga every day, and they are also species. Ganga should have its impact or effect on them as well. In fact, if God's mercy upon us, we have accrued a lot of good karma, instead of sending us to celestial abode, he should just make us a fish and send to Ganga. The next life we will be God realized. So why is it that people, despite staying inside Ganga species, do they realize God? Or if I have incurred sins in my entire lifetime and simply go to Ganga and do Har Har Gange, 3-4 times, whatever is the ritual, will I absolve myself of all the sins? Okay, and he gave a very beautiful answer. He said, take a bottle, okay, put some impure water, polluted water in it, okay, muddy water or urinated, kind of a filling in it, and cork it tightly and put it in Ganga. Okay, keep it there for a while and then take it out and drink it. He said, no, we can't drink it. It is still the same. He said, exactly. So if you have actually bathed your mind in Ganga, then you have truly become pure. Okay, you have an eligibility for higher abodes or God realization. But if you have simply taken a bath and your mind is still impure, nothing would happen. So that is the key here to be understood. Okay, it's an important concept to be understood. People don't understand it. They make it one of their checklist. Before I touch this age, I need to go for all the dhams, as if that was going to undo every impurity in their mind. Does not matter. Okay, unless we have bathed our mind, cleansed it, we are still where we are. And that corked bottle that I spoke about is the bottle basically is symbolic of our mind that accompanies us lifetime after lifetime. So whatever cleansing we have done of that bottle in this lifetime, we take that to our next lifetime. Krishna preserves that, but we repeat with the same mind. So there is no running away from our own mind. So if you struggle with anger, if you struggle with forgiveness, if you struggle with letting go, if you struggle with harboring a lot of resentment and stuff like that, you will have to work on it. Okay, no free lunches. You have to work on it by proper knowledge, by contemplation, and by making a resolve that I will work on it. Because if you'll not work on it, no jadoo is going to happen that next morning or next life you will wake up and you become all saintly. No, you will still have to deal with the same mind. And that is why we are repeating. Okay, this mind accompanies us from lifetime to lifetime. It's part of our subtle body. So the more work we do right now, the less homework we have in our next lifetimes. The less work we do, the more work we have. And if we keep on adding more work for ourselves, then it's not a good situation to be in, right? When we used to have holidays homework during winter's break, when it gets finished, you used to feel, wow, now we can play. Now here, the homework keeps on getting piled up and we don't realize it. Okay, so the whole game is in the mind. Okay, nothing else matters. Your physical act doesn't matter. So let's continue this conversation. So I hope you understood the story, the concept behind the story between Tavrit and Sovrit. Next time, before you judge somebody, just we don't know who is Tavrit, who is Sovrit. Okay, somebody might be doing big time bhajan, lot of things like that and that. What's going on in their mind, nobody knows. Somebody might be sitting just like that, watching an Amitabh Bachchan or a Shah Rukh Khan movie, and they might be doing Radhe Radhe and nobody knows. Okay, so we really can't judge people. We should just refrain from that, because we don't have the technology to know what is going on inside somebody's head. But that doesn't mean you start making it as an excuse, right? That I'm in samadhi, I'm doing this and all that. That is more of our understanding that we cannot judge. And God takes note of our inner act, not the external act. Okay. So let's move on. So this is where we'll introduce this concept. This is the external world, which consists of the objects decided by the subtler inner world. The other one is an inner world. And this inner world is bigger than our external world. Okay. Inner world is something, external world is something that is created by God. Isha Vasamidam. So since it's created by God, it is a very veritable form of God. It is perfect in itself. It is very objective. Inner world is created by our mind. and it is very subjective. I'll show you how. I'll tell you with some examples that objective versus subjective distinction, how we can bring in. Okay. Now, inner world, as you can see, this is basically mind of every human being. When you are asleep, then it ceases to exist, unless, of course, you are dreaming. But when you wake up, your inner world comes alive. Your perceptions, your images, your biases, your stereotypes, your thinking, your fears, your anxieties, your insecurities, everything comes alive. It's all your inner world. And it is much bigger than the external world. And it consists, why it is much bigger? Because it consists of innumerable subtle impressions created in countless lifetimes by the desires for various gross material objects that we have had across our lifetimes. That many impressions does it have. Okay. And let's continue on this. Now, even if the gross objects are absent, the subtle world of desires does its work through thinking. You don't need that object in front of you. Your subtle world, the inner world, can create that desire, even though the object may not be present. If the object is present, of course, your desire will, will be fueled even further. But then it is so strong that it will create, it will do its work even through thinking. You don't need that object in front of you. Just by thinking, it will do its work. That is how strong the inner world is. Let's continue a little more on this. So, now these desires, they appear even without the presence of the objects itself that disturb the mind. That is why it is said the sense objects are more powerful than the senses itself. Senses do not understand it because it can surprise you. You may not even be aware which subtle impression would flare up and cause a craving for certain thing that you didn't even know that you had a craving for. Okay, that is how powerful sense objects are. Okay, and that is because your inner world is very, very deep. You have accrued it across lifetimes, infinite lifetimes, and all the impressions they're doing their trick there. Now, the external objects, they disturb us only when the desires for those objects are present in the mind. Occasionally, if you look at the desire that we are not even aware of, it suddenly emerges upon contact with an external object that you were not even aware, it will come up. That is how powerful it is. And our experience will prove that even in the absence of these external material objects, the desires can intensify and cause us suffering. It can happen, the pangs of separation or something you feel even though that object person is not there. External object is not present, but your inner world can actually intensify that desire and even cause suffering. That is how powerful it is. See, if you have something in front of you, then it makes sense. But even in their absence, it can make you suffer. That is how vast our inner world is. And I said that external world is objective. It is objective. Inner world is subjective. Let's look at it through some examples, okay, just to illustrate this point. So here's a car. Somebody has bought a car. It's an object. It's an external object. Object in an object. It's a very objective definition of a car, or look, appeal of a car, right? So this guy is happy because he's a proud owner of this car. Right? Now it's a feeling that he's getting because of his inner world. Other guy is sad and envious looking at that same car. And third guy is like, whatever, car is a car, right? You just use it to go from point A to point B. Doesn't matter, right? Similarly, if you look at another example, the house example, somebody may have a palatial house like this. It may make him happy. The other person is envious that when am I going to have this kind of a house? A third guy is neutral. It's like house is a house. How does it matter? It's a temporary place to live, right? And then we have to let go of it finally. We have to leave everything back. Same thing can happen with food also. Some people become ecstatic looking at some food, and some are like sad and envious only if we could have it, and some people are neutral, like it's like okay, whatever. Now, what's making all the difference here? See, the variable here is what? The object is the object. If the happiness was in the object, everybody should have gotten happiness. Or if the sadness, the object had sadness, that all three should have felt sadness. Or if the object in itself had nothing in it, all three should have felt neutral, but that's not the case. Somebody is having a different emotion, other one is having altogether opposite emotion, and third person is having a very neutral emotion. That means the subjectivity to the external world is brought in by the inner world. It's a function of how we relate to that particular thing. It has nothing to do with the external world, right? Something says this, there is a problem in this world, that no, the external world is perfect in itself. Maya is doing its job perfectly. It's our inner feelings related to that particular thing that causes us happiness, distress, or being agnostic or neutral to that at all. Okay. So that is what Lord Krishna is telling us, that if you look at what is the underlying cause for different emotions for different people for the same objects, we know that it is our perception about that object, where we have contemplated or we have looked at it in a certain way based on whatever knowledge is activated in our intellect, that basically translates to how we end up feeling about that object. That object in itself is very objective. It has neither happiness nor sorrow. It's just a material energy of God. You may get happiness out of it because you think you are the owner of it. Somebody may feel jealous because they think they are deprived of it. And the third person who understands it, that it has nothing to do with either of these emotions, will stay neutral to that. So Lord Krishna is essentially telling us to activate the third emotion. It's actually becoming agnostic to that is the right attitude for you to take sannyas from material world. Actually, no object should neither has happiness, inherent happiness, or sadness, or envy, or any other feeling that we typically associate to. Now, with that regards, okay, any questions so far before I move to the next aspect of it? I know Sandhya, we had some announcements as well, but before I get into that, I wanted to pose a question. See, one of the things that I think we have created threads around is, before I create the question for the today, do participate in the threads. I think we have a wonderful team which is leading a lot of threads and a daily tracker for our, where we can commit ourselves to improve on few things. Or we and a lot of our, volunteers have taken that initiative. If you do that, it's a great opportunity, because cumulatively, if you look at it, even if we consider our average is 30 or 40, I'm being a little conservative, we have 3,000 plus years of experience together. And there's a good opportunity to help each other out by participating in threads, by sharing our experiences, by posing questions. How would you deal with this kind of a situation in this kind of a scenario using this knowledge that we discussed today? So do take benefit from this opportunity on our portal. And it's a great way to enforce the learnings and learn ourselves as well. So do check it out. Yes, a couple of questions are there, and this is a question I wanted to pose today. Which one you think will progress faster? Yes, go ahead. The questions. Let's take the questions.
Okay. Maybe I can first ask my question and then we'll move further.
Sure.
So one thing is, we cannot judge someone else because we don't know what is external, what is internal. How about self-analysis? Like if someone is thinking that they are getting detached from the world, they are getting vairagya, how do they know whether they are being an escapist or whether they are actually progressing along the path of spirituality?
Right. So the vairagya would bring in a sense of duty, not a sense of escapism.
Mm-hmm.
Vairagya would let you see things in more perspective, as opposed to running away from them. Yeah. So that doesn't mean you will look out for parties and things like that, but you will generally get a sense that you're not enjoying it anymore at that point, right? And you will find out creative ways how to avoid that, or what to do, what would be the best use of your time if you're forced in these kind of situations. And vairagya won't mean that you would leave your parents or kids or family behind if you are in a particular situation at that point. yeah, if the call of God comes, that's a very unique scenario, like Gautam Buddha happened. But typically, it will make you more responsible towards your duties, more aware about your duties around, and less frustrated with people around and more accepting of them as opposed to finding faults with them. So, yeah, those kind of things should happen because now you will start approaching everything with love and compassion as opposed to, I've figured out the meaning of life and hell with the rest of you. That kind of attitude will not come.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Usha Kiranji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya, Radhe Radhe Nitinji.
Radhe.
Very happy to be here. I'm pretty new to these classes
Okay.
and I feel very blessed that 2023 I got to know about this because I was in the quest to learn Bhagavad Gita, but I always felt it was very boring or I was not able to understand it. But Nitinji, you made it so simple and so practical. So thank you so much for that. So my question here is, see, I mean, the three phases you just showed, right, where someone is after the materialistic thing and someone is jealous of that, and the third one where he's neutral. So, Nitinji, do you think if we go in that state or, yeah, the neutral phase, do you think we will still have the urge to do good and better in the materialistic world? I am little confused there because I'm working. So I, I always have this feeling that this is all not counted as a spiritual thing. So how do I still keep myself motivated and think better and not get vairagya while I'm doing it? I'm not sure if I'm making sense.
No, I get it. There's a bit of a paradox there, right? So you're saying with regards to your job in general, or
And everything, job or the wish, just like I
okay.
really don't feel like buying big things. Yeah, yeah.
No, that's a good thing if you don't feel like buying big things. It's not a bad situation to be in because you don't have any interest. So that's not something to worry about. It's a good sign you have already have that detachment because if it takes us 100 lifetimes to figure out that Louis Vuitton is not worth it, then we are not doing ourselves a favor, right? So having that detachment is good, but the way I motivate myself for my work is even I've gone through that phase. It's like why to do work, all this
Yeah.
stuff for stakeholders and stuff like that. But that's a phase that comes. Okay, then you have to sail through that as well. The way I look at it is okay. If I put my skills to the best use for something that is enabling me my paycheck, putting a roof over my head or puts the food on the table, I better do it to the best of my ability because when I do it, even God would like it. Okay. So more as a service for him and to hone my potential, become the best version of myself in whatever I do. I look at it that way because that will please God. I'm not doing it so that I can enjoy life, so that I get a good name, good fame, or I get a promotion, next promotion, and so that those kind of things take a back seat at that point. But you do it, and when you earn more, it's like thank God. And now if I can earn more, I can give more. It's not that enables me a higher lifestyle. I should be able to give more. So I look at it that way more than looking at it as something for yourself. You can dovetail that thing also to God, where do your best in whatever you are doing because God will be pleased, right? Each one is endowed with a music that's God's gift to them. Realizing that music, right, and living up to that music is our gift back to God. If we do, because God has given us infinite potential and we should realize it. Big maestros, people who sing, they sing it for God, right? People who create the biggest architectures that have been created in this world, they have been created in service of God. So those kind of things are there. So when we keep on improving ourselves in whatever we do, that's a good mindset to have. That will please God.
Okay. Can I ask one more thing, if that's
Yeah,
okay?
sure.
Yeah. So with respect to my son also, he's 11 years old. So I sometimes I get this doubt, like I make him learn music and all because I know that is what will help him to sing God songs in future. Maybe he will not understand now, but on his education side also, because I'm listening to this more, I'm not getting the urge to make him go for an IIT or things like that in that path. I somewhere feel end of the day, that's not the reality. So how do I balance there? He's very good at studies. I mean, he has that God blessing.
I get
And
that.
I'm a little confused. Yeah.
I know, I get that. Yeah, that's where I said, given a choice, if I had a choice, I mean, I'm not making choices here, but
Yes.
if I had a choice, I would have, I would tell my young little one that either become a good tennis or a soccer player or become a saint. Okay, nothing in between. But the point is, we need to see for the young ones, one aspect of it is not being ambitious through them. That is one thing, right? That we want them to become the best. We want our kids to be Shravan Kumar, we want them to be Elon Musk, we want them to be the next Bill Gates, everything in one, right? So that mindset, I think we need to refrain from. But at the same time, if they have this much of potential, right? And because we have become very content in life, we just make them complacent at this only. That is
Yeah.
also not a favor we are doing. So that is an optimum balance we need to raise, where we are not only challenging them to their limits, but also doing it in a way which is not putting unnecessary pressure on them or making them very, ambitious through them. So one thing is to give them good upbringing, a good Vedic foundation, good spiritual foundation. That is important. But other than that, as a parent, you are the best judge. What is their true skill and how much you need to let them realize it, right? Because they may be capable of doing much more, but as long as they are doing it with the right mindset, with good foundation that you are able to provide, there's no harm. They may become the next Elon Musk, but they may become the biggest philanthropic of this world as well, right? Both can go hand in hand.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Very, very nice to hear from a working person Bhagavad Gita. So that's motivating. Just wanted to tell you that.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
all these examples and things that you are hearing, right? It is Swamiji who has
Mm.
simplified this Bhagavad Gita for us, and I just put it in visuals and talk through it. But yeah, it makes it easy. I had the similar experience when I read his Bhagavad Gita for the first time, that it is not as difficult as I thought it would be, right? And I'm glad you're able to experience a little bit of that. It's very simple, trust me. Everything will stick very, very logically. You just have to persist for a while. Thank you. Pleasure. Where are you joining us from, by the way?
Sure. Thanks.
Ushaji, where are you joining us from? Okay.
Ushaji, can you hear us?
I think our screen froze. That's okay. We can move on. So before we move on to the next questions, Sandhya, you may want to make that announcement in the link, and then we can come to the remaining 3 questions that we have. And by the way, we are yet to do our devotional segment. So I will do a bit of a lottery to see who are the top 5 who get a chance to sing today. So stick around, we will do the 3 questions, and then, but before that, let's make the quick announcements. We wanted to talk about that Antakshari event and other events that are coming up. And I would strongly encourage the participants, especially who love to sing, to register for this Antakshari on Jagat Gurutam Divas. There will be a team of 3 to 4, 4 or above, 3 or more, I believe. So you can sign up as a team or as an individual. We will group you in a team, but I would let Sandhya talk more about it and post the form around it as well.
Right. Before this, Ushaji is from Hyderabad.
Okay.
And Hetalji had sent a comment. I thought I'll quickly read it, which
Sure.
is,
If you're from Hyderabad, Ushaji, check it out. There's a local satsang there as well.
I think she's already a part of it, because Ashutoshji only informed me that she's from Hyderabad.
Great. If you're already part of it, wonderful.
Right. And Hetalji has sent a quote of Swamiji, which says, controlling the mind requires us to empower the intellect with divine wisdom. Then we use the intellect to govern the mind.
Beautiful. Very true. Yes. Intellect is the governor of our mind, and mind is the governor of our senses.
And H.G have said very good clarification, Nitinji. Thanks for this query to Ushaji. Okay. Now I think I'll have to share the presentation for the announcements, if I can quickly do that.
Sure. I'll stop share for a bit, and then we'll come back to you, Aartiji, Anitaji, and Samji.
Yes, yes. Awesome. Thank you. You can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Right. So first of all, on 14th Saturday we have Jagat Gurutam Divas. This is the day on which Maharajji was given this upadhi of being the Jagat Gurutam. And so as part of the celebrations, there are many things. Two of the online events are quiz and Antakshari. So I have already shared the link earlier. I will reshare it, on which you can actually register yourself. So please consider registering yourself for both the events. And then on the same day in the evening, there will be a Bhajan Sandhya, beautiful Kirtan assembly for 2 hours in the temple at Radhakrishna temple, and which can also be attended online. And then next day there will be Sunday Satsang, Swamiji's lecture for the occasion. This is again the same thing. This is about Shivratri, but I think, yeah, I mean, just announcing that Shivratri will be there from February 17th to 19th. So you can check further details on the temple website, which is the link is here. And Swamiji is right now in India. So I guess that's it for now. I will stop.
Great. So please do sign up. Do we paste the link for that, Sandhya?
Yeah, I will reshare it.
All right, wonderful. And please fill out the feedback tracker for the day as well. Okay, now let's move on to the questions that we had before we get into our devotional segment.
Yes, Samji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Nitanji, I want to be clarified for myself. This internal word you said is a mithya.
True.
And mithya means illusory or whatever you call it. And the external world is temporary, fleeting, correct?
Yes, one is asat, other is mithya. Very true.
Yeah.
So,
external world is a asat with A, right?
Asat, very true. It is
with
temporary.
A, correct? Okay, now my question comes on that one. On the yoga gems of Yoga Fest of 2020, June 17th, there was a table given on the page number 6. And the last line on the left-hand side says, external world is Satya with Satya, a creation of God who is Satya. So why we are talking at Satya and Asatya in the external world? In the Yoga Fest, they said Satya. Now, as we just clarified it, you said the external words with Asatya.
Okay. So, Yoga World, who had shared that presentation?
It was in the presentation, Daily Gems of Yoga Fest 2022. That was on June 17th, page number 6.
I can confirm that with him, but I'll give you the reference of Bhagavad Gita. I refer to it. So basically,
that is it was a Yoga Fest of ours.
I hope it is a typo, but I'll confirm it. Okay, if it is not a typo, but I'm just reconfirming it in my head. There are two philosophies. Okay, where they say,
I was discussing with somebody today in the daytime, and the page came across my mind. And that's what we were discussing, and luckily, okay.
I'll clarify it with you again, but I'm telling you my little understanding around this concept. So a lot
in the same context, by the way, Adi Shankaracharya, and he also said Jagat Mithya. I know, I understand. And at the Vedas also say Jagat Mithya, Brahm Satya. And I know Bhagwan, Brahmatma, and Brahman, those theories we talk something different. So why, if the Vedas say Jagat Mithya, then Vedas cannot be wrong either.
See, so Samji, again, you are falling into the trap of intellectualizing Veda through your own interpretation, right? Maharaj has explained very clearly Vedas, when they talk about mithya, right? Shankaracharya, if you speak to a Gyan Yogi, he will say this world is an illusion. It's just like a dream. When you will wake up, this dream will be dispelled. Okay, that is the philosophy of Gyanis. And then, the other philosophy said, no, Jagat is Satya. It's not mithya. So Maharaj.
But at the same time, Shankaracharya he was also a Bhagat of Krishna also, as he sang some songs also in the Krishna's Bhakti.
Right, Samji. What he preached at that point was appropriate because he was building on the philosophy where Buddha left. Okay, so he did not disclose. Now you will say, why did Shankaracharya, although he in person or in private, he worshipped Bhaja Govindam, Why did he not preach about Krishna? Why did he say you are Krishna or you are God himself, right? So that will be an endless debate. The point is that when these saints come, they preach in accordance with the time, place, and the audience. Okay, so he actually focused on the abhed aspect of God, where aham brahmasmi, you are God. Okay, and then Madhvacharya Nimbarkacharya said no, God is different, you are different. And then Kripaluji Maharaj say he actually reconciled all the philosophy. So if we sit on these philosophies, each thing can have a debate for next 10 hours without any conclusion. The bottom line here is that there is a world, Maharajji very clearly explained. The world in itself is the veritable form of God, although it is temporary, okay, but it is a veritable form of God. So to your point, I will verify it if it is called as Satya or Asatya. Asatya is basically temporary.
Right. The page
The second
number
aspect
6.
is the delusional or the mithya part is the inner world. Inner
Yeah,
world.
please clarify that one. Page number 6 and by June 17th of 22.
Sure. I will refer to the Bhagavad Gita. Swamiji has tackled this question very, very clearly. What is mithya and what is asat? And he's spoken about that mithya. The inner world for sure is mithya because it is created by our own.
Yeah,
mind.
that is okay. I got that one. Yeah,
Now,
okay.
external world, there are two aspects to it. First is it is real. Okay, because it is the veritable form of God, it is real. However, asat has been referred to the fact that it is temporary because it all collapses, right? It is always, it's not permanent. So I will clarify in what context sat has been used. Okay.
Yeah, so the line, it says, I'm reading that line, external world is Satya dash a creation of God who is Satya. So at the same time, we talk about it is a fleeting Asatya with A. So I just want to make sure for myself.
No, that's good. You're very diligent around it, but I'll send you some more.
Please. Okay, take your time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take your time, please.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'll send you some reference from the Bhagavad Gita book itself. Hopefully it will shed some more light on it.
Thank you.
Great.
Just to add, like what Nitinji you said, I guess that's what, like Satya is used in the context of opposite of Mithya. So it is like Satya in the context that it is real.
It is real.
Asat is in the context that it is temporary. So
true. It is Sat. It is real, but Asat. So Satya, I think the spellings we are getting mistakes. Satya means it is real. Asat means it's temporary. So it is real but temporary.
But temporary, exactly.
That is how it is. So both are correct actually. And then it is the inner world is mithya, non-existent, which is created by our own mind. So yeah, it is inner world is mithya, external world is real, which is also called Sat, and external world is also Asat, which is temporary. Okay. Anyway, I'll get some reference from Bhagavad Gita as well. I know the page number where this whole commentary is there. I'll share it with you, Samji. Yes, Anita ji.
Yeah, Anita ji, Radhe Radhe, please go
ahead. Radhe Radhe, Nitinji and everyone. I just wanted to add a little bit to the discussion. Ramakrishna Parahamsji also said that for that widow lady, for the Saurat and Saurat video, to add that he also said that for that widow lady to contemplate on the God being with her son, because being there she can be thinking of her son all the time. So that way it helped. And the other point is to this materialistic world, the world is as it is. But if we take any instance, like for example, when a instance came like somebody insults you, that time one person can take it easily and the other person take it very seriously. In that matter, it applies to everything. Like a sannyasi look up the car or a house or the enjoyment of the world, he doesn't feel anything. For that matter, the worldly person, he feels so much engrossed in that. He gives so much of importance to that. So for us to look upon the level where we are in that level, what importance we are giving to that, and what importance we are giving to the spiritual world, so that we can introspect ourselves, what is our level there. And I want to just add a little bit for the Ushaji's question. For our country needs so much of eligible people. Uneligible people receive so much due to of quota or something. They come into existence like in IAS and IPS. They will rule and they'll be able to make the decision. The deserved person need to be there and should be able to make the decision for the country. So it's better to encourage the kids who are, they should not forcibly do it. If they are able to do it, it's fine, good. Because we, as a parent, we are giving a citizen who is eligible and serve the country and serve whatever the way they are. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, beautiful inputs. That's true. If we have more educated people with spiritual inclination, that will serve the society really well. Thank you for that. All right, we had RTG. Please go ahead, RTG.
Where
When
is
turn comes, you drop your hand, which is not allowed. So please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Aarti ji, please go ahead.
हरिओम, राधे राधे संध्या जी, राधे राधे नितिन जी। मैं ना इधर अटक गई हूँ। जैसे आपने कहा ऑब्जेक्ट से हैप्पीनेस, मुझे ये नहीं समझ आता हम लोग ऑब्जेक्ट्स पे हैप्पीनेस अटैच कैसे कर लेते हैं।
क्योंकि
अभी चलो दूसरे को अच्छी कार है तो है, अपने को क्या, उसके कार से अपने का क्या लेना देना। मतलब दूसरे का बिजनेस दूसरे का है ना, वी शुड माइंड आवर बिजनेस। व्हाई वी आर ऑलवेज लाइक नोजी क्यों हो जाते हैं ऐसे, अरे उसके पास क्या है, इसके पास ऐसा क्यों है हमारा माइंड। एंड जैसे आपने कहा चलो ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं मिला तो जेलसी क्यों, अरे नहीं तो नहीं, चलो इसमें क्या है। अभी लाइक किसी को अगर खाने में मैं बात करूँ, वही इजी लगता है मेरे को, तो मैं वेजिटेरियन हूँ, दूसरा उसको नॉनवेज में ज़्यादा स्वाद आएगा, मुझे तो बिल्कुल नहीं आएगा, मुझे तो घिन आएगी। तो क्या अभी नहीं है तो क्या मैं इसमें ये सोचूं क्या कि मुझे जेलस होना चाहिए या क्या। तो हम हाउ डू वी अटैच हैप्पीनेस टू ऑब्जेक्ट्स।
That's a very good profound question. Again, I said Krishna is a master psychologist, right? He's explained, you have started thinking this object will give me happiness, this will give me the repeated contemplation will form an attachment, and then you think it will give you happiness, right? Relations में भी तो ऐसा ही होता है ना, even in our relations it happens the same way. This relation will give me happiness, this person will give me happiness, this object will give me happiness, and that cycle keeps on repeating in our life for different things.
पर कैसे, मुझे तो नहीं फील आता है वो कि ये हैप्पीनेस, मुझे तो उल्टा टेंशन आता है कि बाप रे इसका कितना झेलना है। मतलब मेरे को
you already
क्या
have,
है?
if you've already developed dispassion and detachment, better, it's good for you. But दुनिया 99% वैसे नहीं है अभी, तो that is why we're reading here. You might have developed vairagya from the world already, Arti, so congratulations for that. But mostly people, it's very difficult to do that. We fall into that trap. But how did you accomplish that? Please share some tips and tricks for that.
नहीं, मुझे एक्चुअली आपसे जानना है, ये कभी जैसे आपने जेलसी कहा ना, ये मुझे थोड़ा ट्रिक हो, मतलब ऐसा लग रहा है शायद मेरा वो आप बोलते हैं ना स्टैश, वो सीक्रेट स्टैश कहीं तो है, अभी तक मैं खोल नहीं पाई हूँ उसको भी, लेकिन कहीं कहीं ऐसा ये जेलसी के ही हैज़ अ बेटर लुकिंग हस्बैंड, यार क्या हैंडसम बंदा है, उसको अपने को नहीं है, तो ये एक कहीं तो है। तो ये आया किधर से, क्योंकि ऐसा आना नहीं चाहिए ना कि मैं तो इसलिए मैं जानना चाहती हूँ वेयर डू आई डेवलप दिस, कि ये नहीं है तो मुझे जेलस होना चाहिए, मुझे सैड होना चाहिए, व्हाई डू आई डेवलप दैट।
It's a very important question. We'll sit down and think about it. Why does it happen? But हमारे scriptures कहते हैं 3 चीजों में संतोष रखो, अपने spouse में, अपने खाने में और अपनी wealth में. These 3 things we have to keep content with, okay? So दूसरे के husband and wife को देखना में बंद कर देना चाहिए. But हाँ, कहाँ से आता है ये? I think it's an interesting question. I don't know, maybe a mindset of limited things in this world as opposed to having an infinite pie. I don't know, but that is how the mindset is. And I think this is one of the afflictions of the mind that Lord Krishna talks about. Anger, jealousy, greed, all that stuff results in that. और अगर जब हमारा clean हो जाएगा mind, तो it will not come to us. We'll get better at it. We'll get a perspective around it. We'll become neutral, more than thinking कि I don't have it. But yeah, you have a very valid question, Arthurji. Maybe we can create a thread. Why do we feel jealous? Why? What makes us think that way? It will make for a good thread.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Hariom.
Dhanyavad. Yes,
Hariom. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Maybe one more. We can take Ashwin. Yes, Samji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Samji, please go ahead.
Radhe
I'm
Radhe.
going to spin the wheel at least for 5 minutes, okay? A couple of chanting. So I've been preparing for it. So we'll take last two hands real quick.
Nitinji, as long as we have likes and or dislikes, even though we may not act upon them, should we keep on taking births? I mean, for example, we may not hate things that God is giving us, and God may not give us that we like, but still will until we come to the point of neutrality, will God keep on giving them until we become neutral?
Yes.
Like in the past, I remember you said one example that in the past you worked under a boss from the result of which you learned where you do not want to be. Is it like the situation will continue until you become neutral to that?
Yes. Yes.
circumstance?
If I have bitterness about that, I have to overcome that, right? Like and dislike, if you know, Shitoshna Ushna Sukha Dukkhada, that shloka in 2. I believe in 2nd chapter, where Lord Krishna is saying we have to rise above these dualities, likes, dislikes, hankerings, aversion, all that stuff. When we become neutral, then only the job is done. Until then, no.
Yeah.
So the
By
example that the example that I gave was basically I understood what I don't need to do. But that also needs to be conquered. I should be neutral to that, right? He's doing that basically. That motivated me to do something, but then that's not the right sentiment. I have to become neutral to that because I'm not there yet, right? That's
Yeah,
why.
based on, I mean, even though we keep on acting based on knowledge, but still the instincts will be there within us. So those instincts from inner should go away.
Bhakti will neutralize those instincts also. That is the medicine we need. All of us need.
Okay.
It will burn the seeds. Let me put it that way. Bhakti, when we do devotion, it will burn the seeds of such instincts also.
Like
Till
said
that
in
point, we have
Bhagavad
to
Gita,
continue working.
stone or gold, they look upon same. Similarly, we should look same, likes and dislikes, every
True.
situation, every
True.
object, person.
Very true.
Okay.
That is the state, that is an ideal state we have to reach.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Ashwinji.
Yeah, okay, Ashwinji first, and then I'll read out Urvi's comment. I'll read.
Sure.
Okay, Ashwinji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
All right, yeah. So to Artiji's question, I can probably answer with a little bit of understanding that I have.
Sure.
So there are two ways to look at that question. One, from a technical standpoint, if you look at the Sankhya philosophy, the manas is divided, or the mind is divided into three pieces, like manas, chitta, buddhi, and ahankara. And if you look at chitta, it's like the subconscious memory. And to your question, Artiji, like when we say like, why are we feeling jealous, or why someone is feeling happy, or why someone is feeling like, dispassionate about certain things, think about it in this way. You have a CD and you have a software written on it, and you have another software written on top of it. The old one gets erased. So your vrittis are something that comes up automatically from that subconscious memory. And as Nitinji has explained, like when someone looks at that object, those internal feelings automatically come up to the top or bubble up to the top. Those are called as vrittis. And the more and more you practice by trying to avoid those vrittis, or by trying to erase these old vrittis and like incorporate new ones by putting in that new software, you will automatically see like the new set of mind or the new mindset develop. So your jealousy, your anger, or your enviousness, all those things will slowly and slowly go away, and they will be replaced with like love, compassion, and slowly, and with all those other things. So some people may naturally have it. So for example, a newborn child, some childs are, or some people in general are really kind-hearted, but some people, they're like jealous and all that. So those things, those people, they have to work hard by trying to get those softwares, rewritten by avoiding or erasing those vrittis. by incorporating the new ones. So this is my little understanding of like how it usually works. But I could be wrong as well, but this is what I have read and what I have understood and which I'm working on as well. Thank you.
No, great point, Ashwinji. Thank you for chiming in for that. Very true. The chit is the storehouse of all of our sanskars, right? Any thought, any craving, any desire, any sankalp that we have made in any lifetime, keeps on getting stored in our chit, right? Like Ashwinji beautifully explained, man, buddhi, chit, ahankar, four parts are there. And those vrittis are there. We don't know why those vrittis, how many lifetimes, infinite lifetimes, those vrittis we have. And it's just like a projector. Whichever reel comes in, gets flashed, gets displayed on the screen. So our vrittis crop up, right? That story was there that people said that, okay, God, why don't you give us this? So God said, all right, you get your topmost thing that you want to desire, bring it, and I'm going to give you a Black Friday sale, fulfill all your desires today. Give me the topmost thing that you have on your mind. But I'm telling you, within 2 minutes, you'll be sad again. So what happens? Everybody goes and asks for the topmost thing which is there on their mind, and they get it, they're happy. But within 2 minutes, they're sad again. Why? Because now they start looking at each other. And he's saying, okay, I didn't ask for this. This guy got a better deal in this. So those vrittis are there in us. Maybe because of a sense of, okay, I deserve, I didn't get this, I didn't get it. A sense of limited pie in this universe. But those vrittis are there and they get highlighted, but they can be over. Good news is that they can be overwritten. Bad news is vrittis are there. Good news is by mindful practice and with proper knowledge, you can override those. You can force yourself to override the software that is troubling you. And that is the whole purpose of spirituality, the sadhana that is said. Great point, Ashwinji. Thank you so much. All right. What did Urvi say? Now let's move to our Wheel of Fortune today. Yes. What did Urvi say?
Yeah, Urvi has talked about this Mithya and Satya aspect. So I'll just quickly read it out.
Sure.
So she says, when Vedas say Jagat Mithya hai, Maharaji says they are referring to the internal world. And when Vedas also say that the Jagat is Satya, then they are referring to the external world. And then she says that, so basically Maharaji has reconciled it. And he presents to us that Jagat is both Satya and Mithya. It is just a matter of which world we are talking about.
True. Satya, and at the same time, the Asat aspect is the temporary. Although it is real, but it is real, but it is temporary. I think it puts everything in perspective. And there's a Bhagavad Gita verse. I'll share it with everyone for you to read through that. Swamiji has beautifully explained that, all the three things. Okay, now a lot of people had signed up for it. I'm going to spin the wheel. Top three get a chance remaining on the remaining days because we have limited time today. So I'm going to spin and see whose name comes up today. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Right. So you are the lucky one today. First one for the day. So we will let Wheel of Fortune decide who gets picked up on a given day, maybe top three. We will pick up today and then the remaining ones, the remaining day. Yes, Ashutoshi, go ahead.
Yes, Ashutoshi, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
श्याम मेरे श्याम मेरे प्यारे श्याम मेरे श्याम मेरे प्यारे श्याम मेरे प्यारे श्याम मम स्वामी सखाशुत श्याम मम प्रिय प्यारे श्याम मम स्वामी सखा तुम श्याम मम प्रिय प्यारे श्याम मम प्रिय प्यारे मेरी गति तुम मेरी मति तुम मेरी रति तुम प्यारे मेरी गति तुम मेरी मति तुम मेरी रति तुम प्यारे मेरी रति तुम प्यारे तोरा सुख बन जाए मम सुख ऐसी मति करू प्यारे, तोरा सुख बन जाए मम सुख, ऐसी मति करू प्यारे, ऐसी मति करू प्यारे। दो कृपा की भीख अब तुम, दो कृपा की भीख अब तुम, मोहि कृपाल हूँ प्यारे। दो कृपा की भीख अब तुम, मोहि कृपाल हूँ प्यारे, मोहि कृपाल हूँ प्यारे। श्याम मेरे, श्याम मेरे, श्याम मेरे प्यारे, श्याम मेरे, श्याम मेरे, श्याम मेरे प्यारे, श्याम मेरे प्यारे। Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Ashutosh ji. Beautiful bhajan from Maharaj ji. Lot of claps and lot of hearts for you for that. Beautiful. All right, we have two more slots for today. I'm going to spin it again and see who gets lucky today. I think this is how we will moderate it because we have so many entries, but we'll keep covering it for the rest of the week. And if you're interested, please pull in your name. I'll put your name here as well. Dinesh, we have Dinesh here. Oh, very-
Dinesh ji, please raise your hand if you're here.
All right, I think that slot gets.
Okay, he's here.
Oh, he's there? Okay. All right. Okay, we'll put up the next name as well. Yes, Dinesh, go ahead. And after Dinesh, let's see who will come. Sandhya.
Okay.
There you go. All right.
Radhe Radhe Dinesh ji, please go ahead.
Dinesh and Sandhya for the day, and then we will wrap up today's session. The remaining participants, keep your fingers crossed for tomorrow. And if you want to sign up, please do. I'll keep including your name in the wheel as well. We'll put 3 every day. Okay. Yes, Dinesh.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe. मोहन तेरे चरणों की बस धूल ही मिल जाए, सच कहता हूँ मेरी तकदीर बदल जाए। सुनता हूँ तेरी रहमत दिन रात बरसती है, एक बूंद जो मिल जाए मन की कली खिल जाए। मोहन तेरे चरणों की जो धूल ही मिल जाए। ये मन बड़ा चंचल है, कैसे तेरा भजन करूं, जितना इसे समझाऊं उतना ही मचल जाए। मोहन तेरे चरणों की बस धूल ही मिल जाए। मोहन इस जीवन की बस एक तमन्ना है, मोहन इस जीवन की बस एक तमन्ना है। तुम सामने हो मेरे, मेरा प्राण निकल जाए। तुम सामने हो मेरे, बस प्राण निकल जाए, मोहन इस चरणों की बस धूल ही मिल जाए। राधे राधे, थैंक यू।
Very beautiful bhajan, very nicely, bhavpurnly sung. Loved it. So many hearts and claps for you. So thank you so much for that. All right, last but not the least, our co-host for the day. How did you get your name, Sandhya?
When Wheel gave my name. But beautiful bhajan by Dinesh ji, really loved it.
Yes.
Okay.
Aparna ji, you also be ready tomorrow. I know you have a presentation too, so we'll make sure we get your name on the Wheel of Fortune tomorrow. Yes, Sandhya, go ahead.
Okay. राधे अलबेली सरकार रटे जा राधे राधे, राधे अलबेली सरकार रटे जा राधे राधे, 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 तेरो जन्म सफल हो जाए, रटे जा राधे राधे, राधे अलबेली सरकार रटे जा राधे राधे। जो राधे राधे गावे सो प्रेम पदारथ पावे, जो राधे राधे गावे सो प्रेम पदारथ पावे, पावे मंडल रास बिहार रटे जा राधे राधे, पावे मंडल रास बिहार रटे जा राधे राधे, तो राधे अलबेली सरकार रटे जा राधे राधे। शिव गोपी भेष बनायो, वृंदावन रास रचायो, शिव गोपी भेष बनायो, वृंदावन रास रचायो, बंशी पट में कियो बिहार रटे जा राधे राधे, बंशी पट में कियो बिहार रटे जा राधे राधे, राधे अलबेली सरकार रटे जा राधे राधे। जो राधे नाम न हो तो कृष्ण बेचारो रो तो, जो राधे नाम न हो तो कृष्ण बेचारो रो तो, और नहीं होता प्रेम अवतार रटे जा राधे राधे, और नहीं होता प्रेम अवतार रटे जा राधे राधे। जिन न राधे नाम न गायो, तिन बिरथा जन्म गवायो, जिन राधे नाम न गायो, तिन बिरथा जन्म गवायो, ऐसे जीवन को धिक्कार रटे जा राधे राधे, ऐसे जीवन को धिक्कार रटे जा राधे राधे, राधे अलबेली सरकार रटे जा राधे राधे, राधे अलबेली सरकार रटे जा राधे राधे। That's it. Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful, Sandhya. Very, very nice. It's a great segue to end the evening reciting Radha Rani's name, and very nicely sung. It's a very beautiful, sweet, simple bhajan. I'm glad you sung it, and I'm glad your name came today. So very nice. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. We will let the wheel pick up 3 people every day. And if you want to register for it, please keep adding your name. and that way we'll cover everybody. And thank you again. And I would strongly encourage all of you to register for the Antakshari for Jagat Gurutam Divas. If you have not already done that, Sandhya shared the link with you. We have a very strong team from Daily Wisdom, okay? So look out for that. But I would encourage you all to register as a group, because we have sung enough bhajans over the last few months to make our presence felt in that competition. So please, if you have not, you're still thinking, just go and sign up for it, okay? It's going to be a very interesting event. There's going to be trivia as well, and Antakshari event is going to be fairly good. So please do sign up for that. And thank you again for your enthusiastic participation. We'll continue our discussion tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, great rest of your evening, and Radhe Radhe from my side.
Thank you everyone for engaging participation. Thank you Nitinji once again, and Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe everybody. Thank you.